Do you like receiving newsletters in your inbox? Today, what I want to talk about, and to the people I want to talk about, are the authors who are already publishing. So, not someone who's just starting out, although you might also want to start a newsletter even before you publish your book. But I want to talk about newsletters and how to craft a really great newsletter and give you my thoughts on that and see if that helps you to write your newsletter. So join me and we'll talk about this, which is part of the promotional part of being a writer.
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
Welcome to the Julia Monte channel. If we are just meeting, I am Julia Monte. I'm a women's fiction author, and as an author, one of the things that I have to do is promote my books. It's one of the things that most authors really don't like. So we don't become writers in order to promote or market. That is something that we have to do, right? Because of the overwhelming number of books that are out there, the number of authors that are writing these books, and how a way to make our book stand out a little bit is to do some promotion, some marketing. And one of the things that authors often choose to do is to create their own newsletter that they send out to readers. Why do they do this? Because a newsletter is the best way, or an email, right? Some kind of email marketing is the best way to reach their readers. So yes, you could reach readers on social media. However, not everybody is going to see your messages, and probably pretty few people are going to see your messages on something like social media. So it's not the best way to reach your exact readers. Plus, you might have people on your social media that are friends that are not really readers. They might just be relatives. They might just be other people who have friended you and you friended them back, and they might, they might not even be readers. So the best way to reach people is through your own marketing, your own email that you're sending directly to the readers. However, the overall open rate, I guess, for people across industries is something like 21% of people who get a newsletter actually open it and read it. So that means that as writers, we're spending a lot of energy and a lot of time to create this amazing newsletter that we hope readers will love. And 80% of those people are not even opening that email or that newsletter to read what you've written. So that's a problem. And so my question as an author is, how do I create a newsletter that is valuable to my readers, that they're going to want to open and that they look forward to getting, rather than just something else that lands in their inbox that they don't really care about? And so I'm going to just share some of the things that I've learned, but also some of the things I'm still learning. So I didn't go to school to be a marketing expert. I didn't go to school to be, a promotion person. I studied writing, and that's what I do best. However, you have to learn some of these techniques in order to be able to sell your book. So again, like I mentioned, there's a huge competition out there. Writers need to be able to do something to promote their books. Newsletters really are good because you are reaching your target audience, because the people that are subscribing to your newsletter probably are interested in you and what you're writing. But it's really hard to reach them and have them open, because there's so many things that they get in their email box. So let's talk about first, what is a dream newsletter? A dream newsletter that people want to get. The dream newsletter is, like I mentioned, something that readers want to open, that they really look forward to, but it's also one that represents you and your brand well. So this newsletter is representing you, the things that you write, the themes that you have in your books. So it represents the whole, your whole author persona, and therefore what should be in that newsletter. You should know your goals. And when I designed my newsletter, and again, it's something I'm still working on, so I am not saying I'm an expert with this at all. However, I am learning a little at a time. And so this is why I want to share things with you. So I don't want to just come here and make a video about things that I absolutely know a lot about. And there are some things that I do know a lot about, but then there's also things that as an author, I'm always still learning. And so I think it's okay to share that with you. I hope that you think, you agree, is that I don't have to be an expert on everything, because my struggle, your struggle is the same as my struggle. And sometimes you might be really good at one thing, maybe writing. Maybe writing for me, it's dialogue. I really feel like this is one of my strong parts of who I am as a writer, is the dialogue part. Characterization is another thing. So there's a few parts that I'm pretty good at, and I feel really confident sharing those tips with you. And then there's other things like this, promotional parts, where I struggle with, and I also want to share that with you because we are in the same place. We are maybe in different places at different times, but anyhow, I want to share this. So with my newsletter, this is what my goals were. One was to engage with readers who love stories, who really want to know about storytelling and how I develop my characters and what my stories are about, and just really want to know about writers, their life, my stories in particular. And the second part of my newsletter was to engage writers. So to be able to share and educate writers to give writers tips on what I know. The goal of my newsletter is to be able to reach those two groups of people and to accomplish those two goals. Now, is that a good thing? Should I maybe have two separate newsletters? One that goes out to writers, one that goes out to readers. And this, again, right now, I have a lot packed into one newsletter that goes out to both readers and writers. And at some point, I may decide that that's actually a little too much, that readers and writers don't want to go through all of those. So the people that are interested in getting writing tips might really not be interested in my novels, and that's okay. Or people that are interested in my novels may not care about tips for writers because they're not ever going to become writers. So at some point, I may decide that no, my newsletter is actually too long, too much information, and I just want to create two different newsletters. However, that was my goal when I started out, and that's what I'm currently doing. But you want to know what your goal is. What is it that you want with your newsletter? Who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to do with it? And what do you want your reader to do with it once they get it? So there's a few questions you want to ask yourself. So one is, why am I sending this? Why am I spending my valuable writing time to write this extra thing, this newsletter? Why am I doing this? Why am I writing? Who am I serving with this newsletter? What are the people getting out of this newsletter? And what do I want my reader to do or to feel after they read the newsletter? So you want to have a goal for you as your writer. Well, I want to expand my readership. I want to develop my brand, but also you want to have a goal for your reader. What is it that you want them to get out of this? And what do you want them to do with your newsletter after they get it? So this is what a dream newsletter is, right? So it accomplishes all these goals. Now, why do so many newsletters fail, in my opinion? Well, there's a few reasons. The first one, I think, is that writers confuse emails with newsletters. If I subscribe to your newsletter and you promised me a newsletter, and you're sending me email, that's completely different. I don't want to read a bunch of email with just little short messages. If you promised to me a newsletter, I want an interesting newsletter that is giving me what you promised. If you promised me information about yourself, and as a reader, I really want to know about you and your books and your upcoming novels and what you're doing, and then that's what I expect to get from your newsletter. If you promised me that you're going to share little short stories in your newsletter, and I like reading little short stories, and I might be looking forward to what is your next little short story. And if you're not sending me that in your newsletter and you're just sending me a bunch of emails about other things, then again, I may get annoyed and stop opening anything that comes from you. So the first thing you have to be clear about is what is a newsletter and what is an email. And if you told your readers, well, you're just joining my email group and I'm just going to be sending you emails periodically or 3 times a week with news or information, that's perfectly okay if that's what they're expecting. If they're expecting a newsletter and you told them what's going to be in this newsletter, then that's what needs to be in that newsletter. Other issues with newsletters is low engagement, and this is something that just we're not attracting them enough. So they've opened a few of our newsletters, they weren't interesting enough, and then people just stop opening them. So they're just not engaging with you. They're not opening your email, they're not maybe responding, they're not commenting, they're not doing anything. There's no interaction. Something else that could possibly go wrong or doesn't work with newsletters is just your inconsistent messaging. So if you're just randomly sending stuff and it's never consistent, like they don't really know what's going to be in your newsletter, then again, that might just not be interesting. So At first, it might be like, okay, well, let's see what's in this newsletter next week or next month. Let's see what's in this newsletter. And then after a while, it's like, I never know really what's going to be in there, and I don't really care, right? So they may stop opening. And another issue or challenge is that there's no connection to you. So they don't feel connected to you. They honestly don't care, right, what you're doing or what's going on in your life. It's just you haven't made that emotional or that deep connection with these readers yet. There's nothing they feel attached to, so they lose interest and they stop opening your newsletters. And the reason that I know that these are all problems because I've made all these mistakes. So when I first started, it just kind of sounded robotic. It didn't have my voice in it. Or when it did, when I would share personal information, why would people even care about that? So, I had to be honest with myself, like, really, who cares about what's going on in my life, right? Who cares about what's going on with my kids or what I'm doing or what I'm eating or where I'm going or where I'm traveling? If they haven't connected with me, they really don't care. So maybe I was sharing just too much personal information that wasn't relevant in somebody else's life. Maybe they liked my book, but they really don't care about my personal life, right? And that's fair. So I had to look through and say, okay, well, this didn't work and this didn't work. Just random stuff that I'm saying didn't work. So I started taking a look at what both newsletters that I opened and that I actually liked and enjoyed. Why was it? And asked myself, what was it about these newsletters that made me want to open it? What did I feel I was getting from them? From other people's newsletters, and also just like, how do other people do it? So I looked at the things that was working that for other authors and things that I personally like. So some positive elements or things that I thought worked well were first design and layout. I actually liked the way that it looked. It didn't look like an email. It looked like a newsletter. It looked like, some kind of publication that was professional. I liked maybe colors in it. I liked, which sounds really dumb, right? Like, who cares what it looks like? But it catches your eye and it catches your attention. So I liked some of the newsletters that I did read. I liked the way that they were laid. I felt like if somebody before internet, if somebody had actually designed this newsletter and sent it out to their readers, that it would have been published really nicely, right? Because they took the time to create something that looked appealing. And what looks appealing? Nice headings, bullet points, plenty of white space that I can read everything so that it's not all jumbled together. They had consistent logos and names. Everything was in the same place. So as soon as I saw it, I knew who the author was, or it doesn't even have to be authors. I subscribe to all kinds of stuff. I subscribe to marketing newsletters. I subscribe to, I don't know what you call them these days, coaches, influencers, whoever, things that I like. And they're consistent. So it all looks the same pictures are there, the same logos are there, and even across all their platforms. So even if I went to their website, it's very similar. I can't say that I do that with my newsletter. As far as like make it look like my website, it doesn't. It looks different, but it's nice when you can do that. So if you really like the designs, it just matches all over. That's perfect if you can get it to do that. And other things on the layout that were really nice were just like clickable things where read my next novel. I can click on that and it'll go to their next novel to buy it or read it or whatever. So it had like call to actions in there all over the place. Read my novel here, subscribe to this newsletter here, visit my website here. It was easy for me to go find out more information if I wanted more information from this person. So the whole layout design of the newsletter was really professional. The second thing that I like, even more than the design, is the content, right? So you can have the most beautiful design, but if there's nothing worthwhile for me to read in the newsletter, then why am I going to bother? So things that I liked were things that were just informative, things that I really enjoyed. So as a writer, if I subscribe to an agent or an editor's, let's say, blog or newsletter, and they're giving me information that's interesting to me as a writer, that is helpful for me, that they're showing me like new tools that I don't know about or conferences that are coming up that I hadn't heard about, then I like that because it's valuable to me. So content is important. Now, this is difficult. As a writer, as a newsletter writer, it's difficult to come up with content. How do you know like what is important? And honestly, you have to figure it out by knowing who your readership is. What is important to those readers? And now, as you start to get subscribers to your newsletter, it becomes a little easier because you can ask them like, Tell me if this was interesting. Tell me if you want to know more about this topic. Do you want to know more about how to write descriptions? Do you want to know more about when my novels are coming out? Do you want more sneak peeks and behind the scene looks at how I'm writing or my characters? That might be important to your readers or it might not. And you don't really know that, right? Until you get to know who these people are, why they're subscribing and what they want. The more you get to know them, the easier it's going to be for you to create content. Otherwise, it is hard. It's hard for me to come up, week after week with content. So my newsletter, and I've been sick for a little bit and there's a bunch of excuses, but I haven't sent out a newsletter probably in a month and a half. But typically I try to send out my newsletter every other week. So I don't want to bombard them, but I also want them to remember who I am. So I do send it out every other week. But it's hard. Like, what do I talk about this week? What do I add? What's important? What do they want to know? Do they care that my next novel is coming out? I don't know. So I have to, just like all of you, you have to try to figure out who are the readers, what do they want, and what's important to them. So things that I have personally looked at that other people I've done that I've liked have been, I made a little list of them. I like sometimes the behind the scenes look, because as a writer, it's interesting for me to see what other writers are doing and how, what are they doing to write their novel, and just those behind the scenes I really like as a writer. As a reader, I don't know if I'd be as interested, but maybe. Depends on if I really liked the book and I want to know a little bit more about it. Other things is like a quick writing tip or reader question of the month that you answer that could be interesting, and I've seen people do that and I like that. Short stories that, again, that you write, or deleted scenes. Sometimes readers like that, like, oh, this was good, and go into the novel, but I had to cut it because of word count, or I cut it because it just didn't work. But they kind of like seeing that. We kind of like seeing that in movies, like bloopers and things like that. It just makes it kind of fun. Sometimes book recommendations. So I have started doing that a little bit. Not so much book recommendations, but books that what I've learned about the book as a writer from reading the book. So I've started doing that and I really actually enjoy it. And I don't know if my readers like it. I hope so. If I find that people don't like it, then I'll have to change it, right? That's another thing I want to say is when things don't work, or if you see that people just, you're reading, the opening is going down, 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 opening rate, that means that they're not interested in what you're writing. So you might have to just change it up, change it to something different, get rid of something that you're doing and try something different. It's a lot of trial and error. So it's kind of sad, but that's the truth. Another thing is that sometimes readers like is like the sort of the letter style, where it makes the reader feel like you're talking to them. I'm writing a letter to you today, and this is what I want to talk to you about. This does involve a lot of sharing personal information sometimes, but some readers really like that, and I've seen other authors do that successfully. So, it's really endless. So I can't tell you like add this content and they'll guarantee that people will like it, because you just don't know. You have to get to know your readers. You have to get to know what they like, and as you build your brand and you become more and more well known, people are going to tell you, and you're going to notice like what people like. So it's kind of a bummer. I wish I could just give you a formula and say, write about this, and everybody will open your newsletter, and I can't do that. So let's see what else. Yeah, you just have to wait until you get to know your audience, which is kind of it's kind of that vicious circle, right? I don't have an audience yet. How can I ask them? Well, you just start doing stuff and you will get an audience, and as your audience grows, you'll get to know them a little bit more and they'll get to know you a little bit more, and it will happen. It takes some time. Sadly, it does. Okay, the third thing, is it the third thing? So things I liked were the design and layout, the content that the authors do, and the third thing was engagement and growth. So what do I mean by that? I could tell from the newsletters that they were trying to engage with me as the reader, and that they are trying to actually grow their brand, or they're trying to grow their newsletter, and that's okay. And actually it's kind of attractive because I know that they're working on making it bigger, that they're trying new things and doing things. So sometimes just having like a short personal note saying, hey guys, I'm trying to reach my 100th subscriber and I want to thank you so much for being one of them. Or it's just like a little personal note that tells me, okay, this person's trying to grow and they're appreciative of me being here and they are talking to me, right? It makes me feel like I'm helping them out, and people actually like to help you out, right? I'm helping them grow their newsletter because it's either an author that I like or it's a topic that I like. And it's like, hey, well, yeah, I'll subscribe to you because if it helps you out, why not, right? I'll hit the subscribe button. It's an extra email that I might not want, but hopefully I will want it. So I like that. So telling your readership, talking to them directly, and telling them that you want them to help you to grow. And this is a really great time for me to say to you who are viewing this video is that you can help me grow my YouTube channel. So please subscribe to my channel if these videos are helpful, because, that's what we want to do. We want to talk to our audience and we want to ask them to please help us out. So I am doing what I am telling you to do. Okay, another thing, ask questions at the end of each newsletter or each email, if you're doing an email, if you're just sending emails. And again, this shows growth and it shows engagement. So at the end of this newsletter, ask them to do something, ask them a question, ask them to email you, ask them to do something, because these are the call to actions, but really it shows again that you're trying to engage them, you're trying to communicate with them, you want to have a relationship with them, and that is attractive. Other things that writers do that shows engagement and shows they want to do things, they'll do like little freebies and little giveaways. Again, that gets people to interact, it gets people maybe to subscribe to your newsletter, to share it with other people. And so that is also helpful to you, and it's also attractive. Why? Because a lot of people like to get free stuff. They might, and it doesn't have to be actually tangible. It could be a free peek at what's coming up in your novel. It could be an extra chapter. It could be a character sketch. It could be a writing checklist. It could be a number of things that would attract your readers. So if your readers like it, then it's attractive to them, and it's a little freebie, and it's a little thank you, and it gets them to interact. And something else that writers do, again, that are successful with their newsletters, is that they have it all over. Like you go to their website and it's like you can subscribe to their newsletter. If they do a workshop, you can subscribe to the newsletter. So make sure that you let people know, in other words, that you have a newsletter and that they might like to subscribe to it and that it's free and that they get all these benefits from doing it. So let them know. And I think that people that are successful aren't shy about it. They're always telling you, subscribe to my newsletter, and then then they get people to subscribe because they're actually asking them to do it. So I'm going to write this below on the description, but I want you to think about dream newsletter formula. So the dream newsletter, what does it have? It's going to have everything I just mentioned. So the D can stand for define the purpose or the goal of your newsletter. The R is using your real voice. So I'm kind of cheating here. So write the way that you talk, right? So be real with them and let your personality come through in your newsletter. E is engage your readership and get them interested in the topics that you're talking about. And you do that again, like I just mentioned, by the freebies, by asking them to do things, by just wanting to talk to them, sending them private, not private, but sending them messages that feel like they're private and like they're just for them. The A is for aesthetic, so keep the design clear and take some time to really design your newsletter. Don't just make it look like another email that they can easily delete because it just looks like another email. And the M is to make it consistent. So you want to consistently send out this newsletter. This is why I try to do it every 2 weeks, because and on a certain day, so that they know, well, if they're really excited about it, they really want to get it, that it's coming every 2 weeks on this day, and they can look forward to it, hopefully. And it doesn't matter if it's once a month, or if it's once a quarter, or if it's every single week, or every single day if you wanted to send a newsletter. I do tend to get annoyed with people that oversend it. And I know the idea that you want to, people that do send you messages every single day because you want to keep their name in the top of your mind. But yes, if it's valuable, but I don't have time to read your newsletter every single day, right? So I do get emails from some people where it's every day, and I don't read all of them. Why? Because I can't, if I subscribe to 25 people, I can't read everybody's stuff every single day. So if you're one of the people that's sending me something every single day, I'm probably not reading it every day. So I may look at the heading, and if it's not interesting enough, I'll delete it. But if I know that I'm getting like from a favorite author once every 2 weeks or once every month, I'm going to read it because it's not overwhelming to me, and I actually like the person and I want to see what they're talking about or what they're doing or what's coming up next. So I'm more likely to read it. So I really don't know again, I'm not a marketing expert. If it's more valuable to send it more often or less often, I just know that I chose once every other week because it just seemed like it's often enough, but not too much, right? It's not overwhelming. So what I've read is that a monthly is great for like updates, promotions, or just like reflecting on what's going on in your life. Bi-weekly, the way I do it, is kind of a good balance for education and engagement. Again, that's what I tend to do. Weekly is if you have really a strong recurring theme and that you have enough content to do it every single week. Daily, again, is annoying, but it tends to be more of an email rather than a newsletter, because how can you write a really nice, valuable newsletter every single day? It's more just like email marketing, which I tend to not like as much, either as a writer or as a reader. Okay, so how do you do this? How do you start? You can start at the very beginning. So first of all, go through that dream formula and create the newsletter the way that you're going to want it to look. Then you have to write a welcome and email, and if somebody subscribes, you're going to get this first email from you. The next thing you want to do is choose a way that you're going to deliver it. You can't just email everybody. You need a service. So I use Get Response. I like Get Response, but I think Substack has something. A lot of people use like MailerLite or ConvertKit. So there's a lot of them out there. I can't recommend any of them because I know the one I use. I don't even know that it's the best one. It's just one that I liked because you could have, I think, up to 1,000 people before the price goes up and gets too high. They're all kind of expensive in a way if you're not making any money from your writing, but you have to choose something if you want to do a newsletter, because this helps you to send it out. They're really great because you can schedule your newsletters. They have a lot of different ways for you to lay it out and make it look nice. So any of these would work. Then plan your first 2 or 3 emails that you're going to send out so that you're kind of working ahead with the audience in mind, even if you don't have an audience, who your dream audience is. Let your readers know that you are actually creating a newsletter and that they should subscribe, and then create that schedule that's going to work for you. Don't try to do it too often at first if you don't feel like you have enough content. So maybe once a month is a really good place to start. Even once a quarter is a good place to start, so that you can start getting into the flow of creating this newsletter. You don't want people to start expecting that and then you don't do it. So I am always redefining my newsletter. I'm always like, again, now I'm trying to consider whether I want to have one for readers and writers, 2 separate ones. For now, I'm doing it together just because it's not too large of a newsletter, and I have maybe 1 article for readers and 1 for writers, and I share my YouTube videos there for writers. So I do a few things, but it's manageable at this point. If it ever got too big, I would probably separate it, and I might do that in the future. Also, I want to say, again, I'm not an expert, but actually my very first job that I had as a young college student, and I was working for a company that sold certain products, which I'm not going to talk about, but I mean, there was nothing bad about it. It's just, it doesn't matter what the product was. But anyhow, I got hired just like as a human resource person, but they knew that I was I was going to school to write, and that I really loved writing. And I agreed to take over their newsletter, which was horrible at the time. It was just a horrible little tiny newsletter. It was way before what we have now. So it wasn't like somebody could go to one of these newsletter services and create an amazing newsletter. They couldn't do that. They had to design it just from scratch, like literally design the newsletter on a piece of paper and take it to a printer and get copies printed, which is, I agreed to do it on my own time because I liked writing, and I thought this is a fun, part. It's a lot more interesting than what I'm doing in human resources. And I started taking up more and more of my time, and it actually they liked the way that it was working. And I created a little, a committee that would work and actually write articles for my newsletter, and it got to be a really nice big newsletter, multiple pages that I would take to the printer and send. And so the more time I spent on this, the less time I had for human resources. And eventually they created a position for me. They're like, okay, why don't you just become the newsletter editor? We'll hire somebody else to do what you're doing in human resources. And you become the newsletter editor. And so I thought, wow, that's awesome. So I became the newsletter editor for this business. And again, I was still going to college. I was super young, and it was thrilling because I got to be an editor, right? I got to collect really terribly written articles from different department managers that would talk about their department, and but it was a lot of fun. And I'd have them take pictures that I would add and then create and then take it to the printer. So it's kind of funny now looking back where I started as working with newsletters, and now as an author trying to create newsletters for my own brand. And I can incorporate some of the things that I learned back then, but things have changed so much that I'm still learning. It's not the few things that I learned was to reach an audience and to put things in there that were interesting and to create articles that the readership liked, because it was always fun when my newsletter came out once a month at this business to see people. Like, I'd walk around and I'd see them reading and they were excited, and I'd have like birthday things for, because you could do that when you have a closed system, right, where you can celebrate people's birthdays, and they'd look to see if their name was on there, or if they had some other, put a little box where people could submit things that they were in, like I'm getting married, right? And that would be a congratulations in there. But you can do that with your readers, right? There's a lot of things that you can do with your own newsletter that are interesting to your readership if you can get to know who they are. So I just wanted to share this with you again to tell you that none of us are experts. We're all learning when it comes to marketing. I mean, unless you are a marketing person, and if you are, please give me, and even if you're not, if you're a writer and you have your own newsletter, tell me what works for you. Leave a comment and let me know what's helpful, what you do, how you come up with content, how often you send out your newsletter, and how it works. So I'd love to hear from you and hear your tips as well. And I'm sure the people that are viewing the video would also love to hear what works for you. But thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe to my channel, like I said before, like the video, share it with your friends, and please come back and see me again next Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.